Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on September 15th, and we're going to go ahead and call our general session meeting to order. Roll call vote this evening with Director Harris, Director Davis, and Director Simpson here in person. And Director Thomas is joining us online on Zoom, but we'll be listening. Director Harris, would you start us with the flag salute, please? We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society. Board, before you is the agenda. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and approval of minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes of September 3rd, 2025, regular session meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And on to superintendent's report.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. It's nice to see everybody here. We are going to begin this evening by me reading in a proclamation to acknowledge that we are, I'm going to read a proclamation acknowledging, well, let me check. I believe I'm going to read the proclamation and we have a presentation, or do I have that incorrect? Okay, all right. So how about this? I would like to turn the time and the floor over to our students who are going to walk us through an acknowledgement of Boarding School Awareness Day, and we will take it from here. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Amy Sheldon. I'm the Native Liaison for Marysville-Getchell High School and all of special education. And with me, I brought some amazing students from Marysville-Getchell High School and Legacy High School because we believe highly in inclusion, as you know, because I am the liaison for Special Olympics within our schools and have been able to bring that to our district. And so we brought our friend Leah from Legacy, who's going to help read with her friends from her unified team.
My name is Amira McGowan, and I'm an NAFC member, and I'm on the board, and I'm very involved with unified sports.
I'm Akira, and I'm from the Lummi Nation tribe.
HOCIS. Hello, friends. My name is Celedonio Samuel Reyes IV. My mom is Kristen Sheldon Reyes, and my dad is Cameron Reyes. My grandpa is Ray Sheldon Jr., which is back there. My great-grandpa is Ray Sheldon Sr. My grandma on my dad's side is Dolores Reyes, and my great-grandma is Violet Beatty Reyes. I am from the Beatty and Sheldon families, and I am Tulalip, Upper Skagit, and Swinomish.
My name is Leah. You could do it. My name is Leah.
Hey, Jen.
No, we're not reading that yet. My name is Leah.
Yeah, it's Stacy.
Good job. Where do you go to school?
Chambabo.
Yeah, what school?
Yeah, Kissy.
Yes.
Nice job, Leah. Thank you.
Whereas the board of directors is governing body of the Marysville School District comprised of citizens who are elected to serve in an official capacity under statutory provisions who take an oath to support the constitutions of the United States and state of Washington. And
Whereas the Marysville School District Board of Directors desires to safeguard and promote the interests of education and student health and and
Whereas the Marysville School District recognizes the Tulalip tribes as a sovereign nation that values its ancestors, elders, children, and all members, and
whereas the Marysville School District recognizes the importance of remembering the children who died in the residential boarding school system, honoring the survivors, and
whereas the Marysville School District joins the Tulalip tribes in support of our First Nations people in the work they have started in creating awareness and the national movement of
whereas the residential boarding schools and their attempts to assimilate First Nations people have had long-lasting impacts of intergenerational trauma and loss of life and identity, and
whereas the Marysville School District is committed to acknowledging the Tulalip tribes and all First Nations peoples, commitment to remembering their past, honoring their ancestors, and preserving and revitalizing all that we have been since time immemorial as Indigenous and Snohomish people, and
whereas the Marysville School District is committed to bringing forth and advocating for truth, reconciliation, and healing between our Indigenous communities and the federal governments that reside within traditional territories.
therefore, the Marysville School District hereby proclaims September 30th, 2025 as Orange Shirt Day, a day of remembrance and awareness for residential boarding schools.
be it further proclaimed that the Marysville School District strongly encourages our staff and community to observe, to recognize the importance of remembering the children who died in the residential boarding school system while honoring the survivors.
You did it.
Good job, Leah.
All right, thank you very much for that. That was definitely more enjoyable than Deborah reading it word for word. So I appreciate that. Thank you. We're going to move to noting gifts to the district. So we have two gifts to the district to read in this evening. They are both monetary gifts. The first is, well, both actually, but the first is coming from the Green and Gold Boosters Club. It is for C-Team football at Marysville Getchell, and it is in the amount of $8,500 to encourage participation and involvement of MGHS C-Team football. And we are grateful for that donation. And secondly, also from Green and Gold Booster Club, is a monetary donation of $3,300 for MGHS C-Team volleyball, and it's also to encourage participation and involvement in athletics at Marysville Getchell. That total donation is in the amount of $11,800. We are appreciative for that donation and look forward to in the future being able to lean on our booster clubs for other things, but grateful for their contributions at this point in time. And we will move to several information items for the board. These are all coming out of our special education department, and we will turn it over to Robert Haskell.
So I'm here tonight to present some service agreements for public and non-public agencies to provide special education services for students, for some of our special education students. And it's a total of 9 students that will be receiving services outside the district at this point this year. And I know you've had a chance to review those documents and receive some additional information, and I was open to any questions that you might have about that.
Are there any questions for Mr. Haskell?
So these are services that we are required by law to provide for students in our district, correct?
They are necessary based on their IEPs, their individualized education plan. Yes.
And are any, we're sending these, in some cases, sending these students out of district or looking for other agencies because our district at this time does not have the capacity to provide these services. Is that correct?
It has been determined at this point that this is the way that this is the way that the students can receive their FAPE, their free appropriate public education, and that's the mandate of the district. It is also our intention, wherever possible, to have these students return to our district and attempt to receive the services within our boundaries. And so we'll continue to look for the opportunities and try to build out our the scope of our programs so that we can have the students return.
Yeah, that kind of tied to my next question is how, what will we have to do to, in the future, provide services? I mean, what sort of programs will we have to provide just so we have a knowledge of what these students are receiving outside the district?
It is very individualized when you look at them, but there are 3 of the students are attached to deaf and hard of hearing programs, and so expanding our ability to work with the students in that within their local schools, and we would need to do some work to build out our programs and build out the capacity and understanding amongst our general ed staff so that they could help support. And then the remainder of the students it's more based on behavior and behavioral needs that have proven to be beyond the scope of the current practices that we have. Continuing to expand those practices.
Yeah. Last thing, I read something this weekend about the I'm not sure, and forgive me if I get the phrasing wrong, but the lack of or end of funding for the I believe it's the deafblind program or something like that the state had going on. Is I'm not sure if that was tied with federal funding or not, but if we how has that impacted us? The loss of the shrinking funding, obviously, it's going to cost us more, but what kind of impact has that had, or does it have any effect on us at this point?
I haven't had a chance to review the deafblind population that we have here, so that's a good question, and so I can get back to you with that information as to where we stand on that. And that's news to me that they had pulled some funding on that, so I'll have to review that as well.
We'll try to look that up. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, I just clarification that all of these 6 contracts cut our services for 9 different students.
It's a total of 9 students. Yes, that's correct.
Any other questions for Robert Haskell? All right. Is the board comfortable in moving this to consent in 2 weeks?
Yes.
And we'll get back to you on the question, Director Harris, that you had.
Great.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Robert. All right. Our Executive Director of Finance and Operations is going to do a couple of things for us. So Mike, you have 2 separate items on the agenda, so I invite you to just kind of roll through them in order, and we appreciate you doing that.
The first one being the summer food service program pricing and the adult meal pricings for school breakfast program and the national school lunch program. So basically, with these programs, we have to make sure that the paid meals, whether they're student paid meals or adult paid meals, are not being subsidized by the free and reduced lunch program, the federal, state money that we get for those. So in order to do that, we run a calculation and make sure that this is occurring. We use their calculator the way we're supposed to do it. So we don't have any student prices for meals right now because they're all free at this time, but we still have adult meals. And we have to increase those prices to make sure that we're in compliance. So I'm here with those prices. We're increasing it by a quarter.
Any questions for Mike?
No questions, but just noted that you guys kept the funding at either a quarter or at 50 cents. And just in terms of ease of administrating, thought that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
And we do, when we do have paid meals, we do get feedback from the state on what suggested price increases are. But as Mike mentioned, we don't have student paid meals. And so it is nice to keep it to be a round number. And sometimes we have the option to spread that over multiple years and other times not so much. So I appreciate the effort here to sort of keep it simple.
Yep.
And straightforward. Yep. Are we comfortable moving this to consent in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Financial report then. Yeah. Go ahead and go to the next. I can do it with this. Thank you. Okay. Revenue trends. Our revenue is up a little bit in July. It always is. July is where we get like 12.5% of our funding from the state. And they didn't give us everything we were supposed to get in June. They shorted us due to their constraints with the state budget. So we got that additional money as well in July, which, would have been nice to have gotten in June, but we got it in July. I'll just start there with the revenue trends. Expenditure trends are, I'd say, right about on target for where we're at year to date with both areas. You can kind of see that in the next slide here where we look at our expenditure trends to date. We're at 91.2% of expenditure trends. But if you look at the months being equal, expenditures, we'd be about 91.7%, through the year at that point. And revenues are always a little bit lagging where we're at year to date. So I think that looks about right for those general fund trends on the revenues and expenditures. When we hit the fund balance, we do have a positive fund balance in July, and we paid off the $3.5 million loan at that time. So, on August 31st, we paid off the other $1,725,000 we borrowed at the end of June. So as of August 31st, that's preview, we have no outstanding loans. So nothing due to any other funds. I hope to keep it that way all year long. But to be clear, there's that possibility this next June just because of the way the state funds us. Cash flow, as you can see, I have that loan balance down below on things. So we're currently sitting in July where we do have that $1,725,000 that we still owed. So again, we are barely above the line. We're sitting positive on that fund balance. You can see right here, we're at $446,000, but it is a positive number. And it'll be better at the end of August. So that's a general fund. We still have $7 million available in the capital projects fund. $6 million in the debt service. Again, the debt service is just going to pay off one more payment in December. Then that one will have very little activity in it when we make that final bond payment. ASB with 1.7 million and a transportation vehicle fund about 267,000. That'll jump up on August 31st because that's the big source of funding in this account is once a year on August 31st. So it sits low for just most of the year and then jumps up on August 31st. Do you have any questions on the financial reports through July?
So I think Director Thomas had a couple of questions, some that you covered in your presentation, certainly about repaying our capital loan. And it sounds like by the end of August, we're going to be in good shape, which is great. The other question that he had asked was about encumbrances. And are we sure that all the encumbrances will come due and have to be paid at some point? And I'm guessing he's probably looking at those July financial statements and then what's projected for August.
Right. Would you like me to discuss the questions that he had? I'd be happy to do so. Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. One of the questions was because we have encumbrances. Encumbrances means we typically have done a purchase order, reserving the money for expenditures in the future. One of the things we also encumber is our payroll. And we do it from September's payroll. We encumber the remaining 11 months, committing our money for that. So on July 31st, we really have 1 month's worth of payroll left, and those funds are encumbered in there. And in this case, that amount was $12,522,000. I'm rounding my number for you. That is all paid in August. The remaining amount, about $5,671,000, is encumbrances for material supplies operating costs. So supplies and services, things along those lines. Some of those will be paid in August, at the end of August. Some of them we will have received the goods or services in August, but paid it in September. So that's accrued back to the prior year and expended in August. And that's for most of them. And then others will just be closed. And I use an example of ones that get closed because a lot of these hold some open amounts. So for example, at the beginning of the year, we'll do a purchase order for fuel. And I don't remember the dollar amount, so I'll make it up for $1 million because we're going to buy $1 million worth of fuel this year. And by the end of August, maybe we spent 950,000. So we didn't use the entire amount because you project a little more than what you think you're going to need for the year, but try to be close. And we close the purchase order. So therefore, we have $50,000 that just gets closed and that encumbered. So some of those encumbrances will get closed on those open purchase orders for the year. We do them for like maintenance, certain items like that we do. So then there's very few, just a handful of items that we probably did a purchase order for in 24-25, and we didn't receive the goods or services in time. They came in first week or two in September. We will roll those purchase orders over into the new year. They're very few, and we know exactly which ones they are, but not very many. So that's the answer on that one. And yeah, actually, that was kind of questions 1 and 2, really. Another question was the budget balance numbers, balance numbers at the end of each year. So these all depend on the reports you look at. For most of the reports in there, the balance is from the budget. So we budgeted so much, our year to date is in there, the encumbrances for what we committed for the rest of the year is in there, and then you have a balance. So it's really a balance based on the budget, except for the trial balance sheet, because that's an actual beginning balance for our general ledger accounts and an actual ending balance as of July 31st. So it still says balance, but it's looking at a different number. Then there was that question of when we look to repay the $3.5 million loan, paid July 31st. And I added to that the other 1.725 is going to be paid on August 31st, was paid August 31st. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to the consent agenda, and the board is giving 2 opportunities to make a public comment. This is the opportunity to speak to items on the consent agenda. We will have general public comment at the end of the agenda. Does anybody have public comment on the consent agenda? Okay, I'm seeing none. Board, before you is the consent agenda. Are there any items that we wish to pull for further discussion? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, and then we are to the public comment portion. And this evening, we don't have anyone signed in. So we will move to topic J, which is items that are scheduled for board discussion. And tonight we wanted to talk a little bit more about board goals. And I think, as many of you know, the board has had a couple of retreats with Dr. Rimbaugh and district staff. And part of those conversations have really been looking at goals for the coming year. The district does have a strategic plan, which is probably due for a refresh and is relatively broad. So one of the things that we have been talking about is, okay, so in this next year, if we could provide a focus for the district, what would those things be? And we've gone through a couple of iterations and wordsmithing and thinking about, just how to best approach that. And item number 1 is organizational effectiveness. Goal 2 is safety and belonging. 3, an effective learning environment. And goal 4, community engagement and partnership. Oh. And thinking about organizational effectiveness, our initial language or description would be that the district operates efficiently, transparently, in full alignment with board policy, law, and community expectations, and that reliable systems are in place that are predictable, repeatable, and consistently deliver the outcomes our school and community can count on. And, one of the things that we have had in Marysville, because we've had a lot of turnover in key positions, and that I think is really a board goal, is that we have some stability and some consistency in the processes that are coming out of the district office. And the district office really serves our buildings and our building teachers and staff. And this goal, I think, articulates some of that. Revised metrics. So how do we know that we're meeting those goals? Metric A, board and district reporting. Reports to the board are submitted without factual or numerical errors. Metric B, audit compliance, minor to zero audit findings or significant management letter issues in an annual state audit. And metric C is community trust, a % of families, community members expressing confidence in district communications and responsiveness, measured via survey, and our target is year-over-year improvement. I think it probably makes sense to just take each goal, talk about the description and the metrics. Is there any additional board input on that first goal?
I guess my thoughts are, I liked the revised description, and I appreciate the revised metrics. I feel like they're written in a way that they're broad, so well, the board district reporting, reports to the board submitted without factual error or numerical errors. I really appreciate that after all the history and what we've been through. And I am sure our public and stakeholders also appreciate that we're working towards that for organizational effectiveness. And I want to say that this is one that I think this goal in particular is so important because of it just feels like we've struggled in Marysville with this, like having the systems in place, and where staffs, families, students, folks know they can count on this consistency that our organization can handle. One, the trust that's put in to the Marysville School District, and help move us forward. So I just appreciate that.
I'll just have to agree with Eliza on that. Everything. I second that.
Yeah, I like how this was kind of streamlined to be a little bit more clear. We talked about the importance of having a few goals and doing them very well, having them be measurable stuff that we could see. Definitely already got positive feedback on our communication and responsiveness this year so far. So that's good to see that we're already moving in the right direction on that. So for all, I mean, all four of the goals, I know I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I like how they are very they're not so education speak that they're very easy to understand what we're all about, what we're trying to do, which kind of translates to the goal of transparency, trying to make clear what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I think that's something that we need to keep at the always in mind when we're doing things like this, that it may mean something to us, but we want to be really clear that everybody understands our meaning, not just the people sitting up here.
And Director Thomas had brought up a question about metric C sounding more like a metric for goal 4 around community engagement and partnership. And my wondering on that was, is the spirit of this around not only can the board trust and have confidence in what the organization is putting forward, but the community can as well. So I wonder if there might be a way to edit that third metric or metric C to convey that better.
Well, I think that it's important to acknowledge that we have had a history where people feel like they're reaching out to the service center or the district and they're not being heard, or that there's not a process in place for their concern to be addressed. And therefore our organization is not effective. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing to help families when there are actual policies and laws in place that are for our students and their protection. And so I feel like this community trust one is important and as it pertains to organizational effectiveness.
I would echo that. I think we almost could not have too much of it, right?
Agreed.
It could almost not be too much of a focus.
Yeah, I see this more as what is the district doing? And the fourth one I see more as like more of a two-way. So what are we, not only what we are doing, but how our family is able to participate and respond. So it's close, but I think it's different enough that I think it's important enough to have it there.
Yeah, and it looks like Director Thomas was really talking about the spirit of overlap, and just considering, do we consolidate those metrics? Do they live in both places, individually, or separately? So I think we're really all saying the same thing. I just wanted to be sure his voice was heard, and that was his only comment, on that one.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or revisions about organizational effectiveness? Okay, thank you. Our second goal that we discussed was safety and belonging, and this is certainly something I think that resonates with all of us. And when we talk to staff and folks out in the community, I think this comes up pretty regularly. So the language we have around that is school environments are places where every student feels safe, respected, and has a true sense of belonging. Through supportive relationships and inclusive practices, schools foster communities where all students can learn, grow, and thrive. Our metrics here, metric A is a perception of support, upward trajectory of a % of staff who agree strongly on an annual survey that they feel supported by the district in managing classrooms. And metric B, schools are on target to meet or exceed district benchmarks for inclusive practice. And board, I would ask if there's any additional discussion, additions or revisions.
Originally, we had talked about having routines in place for reporting of students and families of HIB, and that schools have necessary procedures in place. Is that kind of folded into the being on target for our benchmarks and practices? Is that part of included in that now? Or would be considered part of that? Or is that something that's as a standalone?
I think that's different. I think the spirit of B is that we are complying with IDEA in terms of inclusive practices. And yeah, so I think that if there's a desire to add something around HIB specifically, we could absolutely do that. And even if it's just by maintaining bullet 1 in the black font.
Yeah, I would be in favor of that. I think that's a real concern for people when they send their kids to school. It's something you
Agreed.
hear about all the time. And so I think that that's important enough that we should still include that.
I agree.
So I would echo those comments as well. I think it's important to include the piece about HIB. And I think it's important that families understand what the process is and that they also come away with a sense that their child is safe at school. So if we could add a metric C, that would be great. Okay, goal number 3 was effective learning environment. And our language around that is an effective learning environment ensures students receive extra support in their classrooms that is connected to daily learning. Progress in reading and math is closely monitored, so more students reach grade level expectations. Families can rely on clear and consistent teaching and assessment practices across all schools in our district. The metrics here, metric A, access to interventions, students receiving interventions in their regular classroom alongside and aligned with core instruction. So that's that kind of push in. Metric B, proficiency, the percent of students meeting grade level standards in ELA and math on the SBA is increasing over time. And metric C, common expectations. Schools are observed implementing agreed upon common expectations for instruction and assessment. I would ask if there's any revisions, comments.
Not picking favorites, but if I did, I think the metrics for this one are I like those. I think that they're very clear, and easy to understand.
I might want to add students are receiving and then add a period at the end of the sentence, just a grammatical fix.
I just want to comment on just thinking ahead on attendance and how that affects the learning and where that might put a student. So if we're providing interventions and they're not showing up to school, those interventions they're probably not going to help. So we should think about that in the future.
Do we need to add a metric D? Because I hear your comments on attendance. I know it's an issue, not just in Marysville, but something that districts across the nation are struggling with. We could think about what a metric might be, but we clearly need to, students clearly need to be in school in order for some of these academic gains to happen.
I agree, and I wonder if that fits with community engagement and partnership. Just for my experience in working with trying to work with students on attendance, it became one, engaging them, but also engaging partnership from families.
Anything else on effective learning environment? Looks like we're okay.
Well, I want to say that I wonder about a cultural component. and how we are ensuring we have a culturally responsive learning environment for our students. When we look at the gap for our students, and we know that our Native American students have historically had been behind in regards to that academic um, scores. So my thoughts are that I think as a district, we should be looking at a metric that ensures we're also providing culturally responsive practices for our students.
Do you think that could live in safety and belonging, or is it effective learning environment?
I thought about it in belonging and safety too. I think it could be either.
Could try something in a couple of different ways and include it in the Thursday packet for review.
Okay, and goal 4 is community engagement and partnership. A strong foundation of trust and collaboration connects the district with families, the Tulalip tribes, and community partners. By working together in meaningful ways, we foster supportive relationships that value diverse perspectives and enhance opportunities for every student. The metrics here, metric A is quality. Partners report satisfaction with their collaboration with MSD in an annual survey or feedback tool. Target is 80% plus. Metric B, communication access. Families report in surveys that district communication is easy to understand, helpful, and easy to access. And metric C, perception of partnership. Families report that they feel like partners in their child's education. And that again is via a survey, and the target is 80% or more of families feel like they are partners in their child's education. Do we have any additional discussion or comments here?
How are we going to get 80% of our families to take a survey? But I like this. I like these metrics. Sorry. I had a comment when you were speaking and then I kind of lost it.
The 80% was distracting.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that is intending 80% of respondents. But wouldn't it be great to have 80% participation rate?
It would be fantastic.
Make it a competition between schools.
And I was going to say, what incentive?
Yeah,
Is
make
there
some-
candy or Starbucks? You know?
Got it. I do appreciate partners report satisfaction with collaboration. I do want to say that I like the quality metric, communication access, and then perception of partnership. I think that is extremely important because I just have worked with so many families in the past that maybe just feel like um they don't have that partnership or they don't feel that belonging in the school. So the fact that we're making this a goal and a priority to say our families, all of our families belong in these schools with us in partnership is important, I feel. And I do also want to say, kind of in alignment with what um, Director Harris was saying, is that looking at the communication that I actually appreciated the stories, that communication that went out and said, if you have something you want us to feature, anything big or small, I just appreciated that. And I feel like that's a different way of inviting partnership in with our staff. And it's nice to know that these changes are taking place as we do this work too.
Yeah, I like metric C with the families reporting that they feel like partners. I think it's for a student success, it's important that we realize that we are on the same team. I think in education, there's way too much finger pointing as to, you didn't prepare them at home as a parent and they come to school and they're disrespectful. And then the parents are like, well, your teachers aren't doing a good enough job or my kids would have learned and this sort of thing. And so it's like, it's not just one person's job, it's everybody's job because we all have the same goal. So we need to work with families and with parents and make them feel comfortable when they come to a school that it's a place that they're welcome and that we'd like to see them when we come in, and we let them know that and we get them engaged. I think it's only to our benefit to have families as a vital part of our schools and not feel like it's a place where they don't, they only get called to when their kid is in trouble. That's a horrible thing to have. So I think that's a step in the right direction.
I don't think I could have said that better. Couldn't agree more.
I agree too, and it sparked another thought about the revised description. I really appreciate just the description says a strong foundation of trust and collaboration connects the district with families, the Tulalip tribes, and community partners. I I think it's really important because it does take all these partners to provide the services that our kids would they need to be successful. And I think being intentional about building collaborative partnerships with organizations, which we see happen all the time. What was the organization that just donated 500 pairs of shoes for McKinney-Vento? We could absolutely not do that um, without these partnerships. So I think it is important for us and our students to ensure that we're building really good partnerships with organizations. And so I appreciate that.
Okay, do we have anything else on overall goals or metrics? So it sounds like we have a little more revising to do. And we will bring it back. But again, there's a lot of work that a school district does. But we were hoping that this would provide a little bit of focus as we look to the coming year. So thank you for that discussion. Item K is executive session or other. We do not have an executive session this evening. And then item I is board director reports on business conducted. And Craig, you're to my right.
Well, I'll try to keep it under 10 items this time. I was kind of a little wordy the last couple of meetings. So just want to say that got out to football games. And so thanks to all the people that helped to make those happen, all the boosters, people in the ticket booths, people working concessions, people that are out there. Saw Connor out there enjoying his new gig. And so it looked like things went really smooth. So that was good to see that, a good start to the season. Was interviewed last week by the Everett Herald for their endorsements. I think Director Simpson was too. So we just appreciate what they're doing to get information out there. It's a vital part for people to understand what's going on with all these elections. And so we appreciate the Herald and what they do for us in the community. Made it out to the city of Marysville had Touch a Truck on Saturday. Took my grandkids to Touch a Truck, and they were into the my grandson wasn't so much into the fire trucks. So, oh, another fire truck, because folks are firefighters. That's no big deal to him. But he was there was lots of cool things out there. Got to see Sir Stripes a lot, so that was kind of fun. The the city's painting machine they have out there. Reason I mentioned it though is wanted to thank Donna and the Marysville School District transportation team that was out there. Of all the things that my grandkids went on, their favorite thing was getting on that big yellow school bus, crawling through and getting to sit, bounce on the seats and honk the horn and make the stop sign go in and out and that sort of thing. So that was great to have them there. the enthusiasm they had. They can hardly wait. They're planning right now for how they're going to decorate the buses for the Marysville parade coming up in December. So that's a really cool thing. So we thanks to transportation for their participation on a Saturday on their own time for that. So that was really cool. Was able to represent the school district today at the Boys and Girls Club dedication. The history on that is it was I think the first high school in Marysville ever there on 10th Street. And then as it phased out of that, it became a YMCA. Spent a lot of hours there as a kid, gym ratting there and going to dances in the summertime, that sort of thing. When the YMCA moved out, we were able to start 10th Street School there. And then eventually the school district sold the property to the city of Marysville. And through work with the city of Marysville, the Boys and Girls Clubs were able to do kind of a lease to own thing. And that lease is paid off now. And so that the Boys and Girls Clubs actually own that site there at 10th Street at Cedar Field. So that was kind of fun to be with all the people there today. Thursday evening, I'll put a plug in. If you're not doing anything, there's some events around here at the Marysville Library. There's Constitution Day, while we still have one. So I will be there reading from the Constitution. I think Director Davis is going to be there. So if you're not doing anything Thursday evening, come on out to that. And then last thing on my list here is since we won't be here before that, on the 26th, Berry Bowl going on out at Quilceda Stadium, so MP and MG. So that's why I wore my MG hat tonight, because I will be decked out in my Tomahawk regalia on Berry Bowl. So no offense to any Getchell people out there, but you got to stick with your alma mater. So that's what I'm doing. So that's all I have. I kept it. What was that? 6. That was pretty good tonight.
Yeah, I was just saying it's intimidating going after you. Just a little thing that I got to attend as a parent, but also, I try not to represent myself as a school board member just because I feel like I'm a community member, because I am. But I did attend the MPHS open house unintentionally, but I ran into some family and I was like, I'll walk around with you. But they had a lot of great resources for what the clubs are at MP, also the sports and other resources such as tutoring. There was actually a lot of information and I was glad that I was able to walk through. I did do a Herald Zoom today. That was intimidating as well. I just want to give a quick shout out to the migrant food program. I have been working with Kenna Neal recently and learned of a lot of funding that is available for migratory students. So I think if that is something that families might think they qualify for, I would reach out to Kenna Neal and definitely see what type of supports they can provide.
Hoffslachil, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I want to say I appreciate President Michael's work and Dr. Rumbaugh's work to continually improve the process of our agenda and just giving an opportunity for us to do some work as a board in this new way. I feel like it is important and it helps for folks to understand how we're arriving somewhere and that we're able just to work together to create some goals and up here during our meeting. I think it's nice for the community to see us work through some of that. I will be at the library on Thursday. I think it's 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Right? And it's the League of Women Voters sponsoring it. It's going to be a good event to honor the Constitution. And some of the work that I've done over the past couple of weeks has been working with students. Students have reached out to me from Heritage about some of the work policy work that they are doing on campus. So I'm trying to just work with them and hear their thoughts on what it is they're proposing. I've had contact with multiple families, which I have moved forward to Dr. Rumbaugh. So I also want to just say um, a shout out to Dr. Rumbaugh for her responsiveness in ensuring that we have consistent, effective processes and really good communication in place with our families. I just really appreciate that. So that is all. Oh, also one other thing, I just want to also say good job to our students for presenting Orange Shirt Day proclamation. I think it is very important that is actually September 30th. Tribes will be hosting a jam that day at the Gathering Hall, and that's open to the community. I don't know exactly what time it starts. Do you know, Mel? Yeah, around 5, there'll be a meal and then an a jam taking place that day. For those that don't know, that's really drumming and singing and celebrating, which is, I feel, a good way to move us forward, um, because the boarding school era was all about um, killing the Indian and saving the man. That was literally their slogan. And so the fact that our culture is thriving and our people are still drumming and singing is a testament to the strength and of our people to survive through that. So it it is a community event if anybody wants to join us down there. And thank you to the students that presented again. I really thought you did a good job. I know none of you are here right now, but Amy, will you please tell them? Okay. Good job, Leah. Tell her, Deanna.
Thank you for that. And thank you all for being with us tonight. Also want to thank the folks that have joined us on Zoom. Would echo Director Davis's comments about the students this evening. They did an outstanding job and we really appreciate them being here tonight. I also want to echo your comments about the gifts to the district. And I feel like I missed on our last meeting just commenting on the fantastic gift that Deanna Bashur and her team um, received. That 500 pairs of shoes is just amazing. She does amazing work to support some of our families in need and students in need, and I really appreciate the work that she does. And I also want to recognize tonight we had $11,800 in gifts to the district to keep our C teams going. And it takes hours and hours and hours to raise those funds. Really appreciate both the folks in our community who gave and then the folks who put in the time and effort to raise that money. It's not easy to do. And I couldn't agree with Dr. Brumbaugh more, hoping that we can at some point, ask our boosters to do different things with their money and support our students in different ways, but really appreciate that we can do that now. And then with respect to partnerships, had the opportunity to attend a meeting with our city partners this week and appreciate all that they do in the partnership with the city. One example is that Marysville Police are out at Liberty Elementary, which is a great way to keep the building kind of occupied and used and having a presence there. So they get some training opportunities and we have activity at the building. And I really appreciate that. And then my last thing is just a thanks to the board as we've kind of gone through some of this work, both on the evaluation process and goal setting. Again, appreciate the opportunity to get to a proactive place where we're identifying things that we goals for the district that we have in common. And with that, I think we are at 7 o'clock even, at least according to the computer, and we will adjourn for the evening. Thank you so much.